Hi, and welcome back to this Thursday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk, the home of muscular Christianity on Conservative Talk Radio. I want to get right into this soundbite. Yesterday, I was on Scott Sloan's program up in Cincinnati, WLW, his talk show program, brought me on to talk about the Macy's Day Parade and all these people, these men dancing around in thigh-high boots, red leather boots and stilettos, wearing boas and all that on what is supposed to be a family-friendly event. And 1 Million Moms, Monica Cole, complained about it. Scott Sloan invited me to come on and talk about it. I didn't know whether he was conservative or what. Turns out he's libertarian and very hostile to conservative social and moral values. So here's how the interview went, and I want to take calls in the next segment. This will take almost the rest of this segment. But give us a call. Call in what you think about this interview, your reactions to my interview with Scott Sloan on the Macy's Day Parade. Let's listen.
Because of the wind and stuff, the balloons wouldn't go, but it all worked out anyway. 3.5 million people viewed the parade live in New York City. 50 million worldwide watched it on NBC Thanksgiving morning. And according to 1 Million Moms, the activist group, the Macy's department store chain, had an unpleasant surprise for viewers about 30 minutes into the program. I was busy sleeping or driving, perhaps. I didn't recall seeing that. But joining me on 700 WLW to talk about why Macy's cannot be trusted, Brian Fisher with American Family Association. I guess 1 Million Moms, a subsidiary of that. Brian, good morning. How are you?
Just fine, Scott. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. So what the outrage is over what?
Well, what we're dealing with here is transvestitism. You're dealing with transgenderism. You're dealing with cross-dressing that's being forced on American families by Macy's and NBC. You know, we've heard from a lot of families that watch the Thanksgiving parade, the Macy's parade, as sort of a family tradition on Thanksgiving morning. And they were just appalled. I mean, they have their kids, their 9-year-old kids, their 6-year-old kids that are asking them very awkward questions about what they're seeing on what is supposed to be a family-friendly event. And we don't even think it's smart for Macy's to do this. You know, the homosexual transgender population probably represents less than 4% of the American population, according to UCLA. And so Macy's here is running the risk, and NBC, of offending maybe 96% of the people that Macy's wants to come into their stores and shop. Not smart.
As I said, Brian, I didn't see it. Were they not wearing clothes?
No, they were cross-dressing. They were.
Well, how would you know? Well, let me ask you then, if that, because you keep saying that they're transgendered, how would you know if they were wearing clothes?
Well, they were wearing clothes. I mean, I've seen the.
Well, then how do you know they were transgendered? I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell that unless you saw the equipment, if you know what I mean.
Well, here's one communication from a mom watching with her 9-year-old daughter, and she said it took my daughter about 2 seconds to see that, or this is a guy watching with his daughter, to see that it was a guy wearing a dress and these kinky boots, these high boots. And he said to his dad, "Dad, that's a man, and he's kind of creepy." So if a 9-year-old can figure it out, then you and I can figure it out.
Okay. And what's the damage here?
Well, it normalizes sexual deviancy. That's the damage.
Should we be blaming, is this the fault of Macy's, or would you say this is the fault of Shakespeare?
Well, this is the fault of Macy's. I mean, they're the ones that made a choice to put this on the air.
But again, I mean, it's men as you know, Brian, men dressing in drag is nothing new. I mean, even in the early days of television, Milton Berle, and I would say, you know, as conservative groups often do, you like to go back to the 50s, the allegedly innocent times then. But in the advent of television, you realize Milton Berle, best known, the great comedian, best known for dressing in drag. Men dressed in drag for years during plays, during Shakespearean times, during the vaudeville days, certainly during the advent of television. Men dressing as women is nothing new. Why is it offensive in 2013 but not offensive in 1953?
Well, Scott, trust me, there is no parallel between kinky boots and Milton Berle.
Well, they didn't have what is a kinky boot? So you're saying thigh-high boots?
Yeah, thigh-high boots, red thigh-high.
Well, why would that be more offensive than Milton Berle wearing, I don't know, wearing like a apron and makeup? I mean, obviously they didn't have what you call kinky boots, but so the distinguishing factor between offensive and not offensive is footwear?
Well, Milton Berle was just having fun. This group is out to normalize sexual deviancy.
Wait, whoa. Milton Berle is, how would you get in a parade, which is a fun event, how would you take out that these people are trying to indoctrinate 5- and 9-year-olds and Milton Berle wasn't? I don't understand that. Help me understand, Brian.
Well, Scott, have you been living under a rock for the last decade? I mean,
no, that would be your territory.
No, there's been a concerted effort to normalize transvestitism and transgenderism.
And I'm asking you, what is the difference?
Culture.
Brian, what's the difference between the Macy's parade and Milton Berle?
Because Milton Berle was not trying to normalize sexual deviance.
How are these people trying to?
It's easy to see.
Right, but again, all right. Well, we just keep going around in circles here. Again, it's Brian Fisher with American Family Association, 1 Million Moms, protesting against Cincinnati-based Macy's, saying that they cannot be trusted for doing what Milton Berle did 60 years ago on national television. That being said, what is the damage here? So a 9-year-old or a 6-year-old asks mom, in the story you articulated to me, Brian, that was I think you said asking awkward questions. Isn't that the job of a parent, is to explain and put into context? Shouldn't you be applauding this as a teachable moment?
Well, that's the job of parents. It's not the job of Macy's. You're exactly right.
Well, yeah, but I see stuff that offends me and my sensibilities all the time, and therefore I want to impart my morals and my values to my children. It's the job of a parent not to avoid stuff, but I would welcome this a chance to say, hey, listen, we don't believe against this because of the Bible, or we say, hey, you know what? I think that God believes that God will look at me and you as equal. Whatever your values and teachings may be, it's an opportunity for you to articulate that. Should we be hiding kids from that?
No, sure, it's fine for parents to have that kind of conversation with their kids on their initiative at their time of their choosing. It's wrong for Macy's to shove that in our faces on what's supposed to be a family-friendly event.
Well, it is a family-friendly event. I mean, if they're out there, if you have men dancing as dressed as women, and they're out there dancing around, much like it's been around since the dawn of entertainment, they're doing it clothed, they're doing it tastefully. I don't understand where the hitting message is here.
It's not a hidden message. That's the problem, Scott. It's right in your face. I mean, these are kinky boots. These boots are made for walking, and they're
What is the big
all
deal
over
with the
for
boots? I
family
mean,
values.
the go-go boots are back in the 60s. I don't understand what's so offensive about it. Were they saying that did they have equality signs? I mean, what was you're saying there's a hidden message, or what's, are the messages in your face? What's so in your face about a bunch of men dancing around?
You don't see that is out front. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing subtle about it.
Okay, what is out front about it? So guys dressing in drag are dancing around in the whole thing. In the message, how do you get transvestitism out of that? How do you get the whole gender bending? How do you get, okay, I did the gender bending, but if a kid sees that, don't they think, hey, look at, he's being, like, for example, Halloween. Plenty of men dress as women, plenty of women dress as men at Halloween. Shouldn't we be protesting that?
Well, what's the first word in the phrase kinky boots?
What is it with you and the footwear? What, is it a foot fetish? I don't understand why the boots are so important to you.
Hey, Scott, I'm not the one that wore the thigh-high red boots with stilettos. That's what the kinky boots cast did, and that's what Macy's put on TV.
Okay, I understand.
Okay,
great. They're high boots, but again, it's daddy being silly. Why can't you go, it's just, they're pretending to be girls. Isn't that silly? Why are you losing sleep over this?
Well, because it's not about guys just dressing up and having fun. This is about promoting sexual abnormality. And, Scott, this is not an
How do you get, you don't get sexual abnormality. I mean, again, you have this whole thing that society's going to hell in a handbasket, and I just gave you countless examples of men who have dressed as women over the years, and clearly, we're not worse off for that. I don't understand. Again, to me, I see something. I want to show me the damages. Like, for example, Brian, you're driving. I hit you in my car. You're paralyzed. There's damage. Where's the damage here?
Well, let me give you the damage here. A recent study from the United Kingdom indicated that 84% of transgenders in the UK suffer from suicidal ideation, and 53% of them have harmed themselves. This is not an innocent laughing matter, Scott. People are hurting themselves. They're committing suicide.
Well, do you think maybe that they're killing themselves because of people like you?
No, there's been a gender recognition law in the UK since 2004. This is a legitimate, recognized, legalized lifestyle in the UK. They're not subject to any kind of legal discrimination in the UK.
And yet, so they're killing themselves. And so we should ban, the boots because of high suicide rate? I mean, I guess because there may be societal pressures there. I don't understand the whole transvestite thing myself. I got to be honest with you. I think you play the parts that God gave you. But again, in the UK, it's much different than what we have here in the United States relative to our own personal choices and freedoms. And I want to know how someone's choice, and I get, the eyes is you want to shield your kids, but I mean, to me, of all the things that offend me in the world, I don't understand why you would get. So before we keep going around in circles here again, Brian, I appreciate the time of the debate. What is it you want Cincinnati-based Macy's to do?
Well, they ought to make a pledge to American families that they're not going to repeat this kind of behavior. You know, there are just certain kinds of behavior that should not be promoted in our culture, and cross-dressing transgenderism is one of them.
Do you think that if I go to Macy's, that there should be, I don't know, like, for example, if I'm underage, I get carded, right? You know, you go buy beer, whatever, they check your ID. Should they only Macy's sell the kinky boots to women?
No, this is a matter of American consumers and American families making choices. Macy's can do whatever they want. If they want to promote transgenderism and transvestitism, they have the freedom to do that in America, and American families have the freedom to say to Macy's, we're not going to shop at your store anymore.
Does it bother you that the face of because you're the American Family Association, the face of the traditional family, I mean, it always has been, but that is changing rapidly in the last 20 years? Does that threaten you?
No, it doesn't threaten us, but it concerns us for transgenders. If you've got 84% of transgenders, Scott, that are thinking about killing themselves, that's not good. We care for these people. We don't want people thinking about killing themselves. We don't want people harming themselves. And this is
what is the cause? What is the main cause? You know, you brought that up too, the 84%. What is the main cause of the 84% suicide rate among transvestites in the UK, which is a pretty small sample?
Well, it's not rocket science, Scott. These people are sexually confused. They have no idea who they are. They have no clear understanding of their sexuality, and that internal tension, confusion, leads them in some very harmful directions. This is not a lifestyle that ought to be promoted or celebrated, and Macy's ought to be.
Do you have any numbers on American transgenders?
Well, I just looked at the study. I'll tell you one thing. I don't know the exact.
Seems like a really. I mean, the whole thing. It seems you're talking about a fraction of 1% of the population.
Well, I care about that fraction of the 1%. I'm kind of ashamed of you for not caring for them.
I care for everybody, but also as an American, first and foremost, I believe in freedom of expression and choice. That is paramount to being an American. Why are you against that?
Well, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
Americans have the freedom.
If somebody wants to be a trans, you seem to be all worked up like it's threatening the American family, and it's not. It's, you know, to each his own. As long as you're not impinging on my freedoms, I don't care what the you do.
Well, that's fine, but this threatens transgenders. That's my concern.
Well, it threatens your value system is what it threatens.
No. These people are killing themselves, Scott, and you don't seem to care about that.
So I guess by protesting Macy's and banning men from dancing and drag like they have for centuries, you're saving lives. Brian, you're a great humanitarian. Thank you for joining us. 1 Million Moms, American Family Association. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Thanks.
You too, Scott.
All right, that's Scott Sloan, my cage match interview with him. Love to get your reactions, 888-589-8840. We'll take your reactions after the break. 888-589-8840. Stay with us, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Focal Point, AFR Talk.